We're joined now by our Senior Counsel for Global Affairs, the former Secretary of State and CIA Director and Member of Congress, Secretary Mike Pompeo. Secretary Pompeo, I want to jump right into this issue. The DHS has finally announced a new program. It's called Operation Blue Lotus. This is the department's first effort that we know of to directly focus on to stopping the flow of fentanyl across the border. And they're already touting that since they began this, just this week, they've seized 900 pounds of fentanyl. We know there's a lot more getting across the border. Is it at least the administration finally listening to just the American people, not just Republicans, the American people who say, we want you to get this under control at the border so fentanyl stops killing our sons, our daughters, our parents, and our kids?
Jordan, I pray that it's so. It's a good sign. I'm happy to hear that they have an operation designed focused on this scourge. That this isn't Republican or Democrat, like you said. It's killing kids all across this country. They have ignored it for too long, just in the same way they've ignored the illegal immigration across our southern border. I hope that this is not only a response to what they're hearing from the American people, but something that the administration has truly taken on board as an American priority. Resourced properly, the United States can reduce the amount of fentanyl that makes its way from China into Mexico, cooked, chemicalized, brought into our country. We can do this. It's not a mission impossible. I pray that the Biden administration isn't just going to announce this and have a big press conference, but rather seriously focus on this in the weeks and months ahead.
You know, we know, Secretary Pompeo, that in 2022, it hurts to say it, but it's true. Enough fentanyl was seized to kill every American. That was just in 2022. Enough fentanyl was seized at the southern border to kill every American. And now we know there's been more seized, so you could kill every American like 10 times over. So the question probably I know our audience already has, and I'm seeing it in the chats on places like Rumble, Secretary Pompeo, is do you think it's too little too late, or is it never too little too late to start combating this kind of drug scourge?
Well, I'm worried about it being too little, but it's never too late. This is a serious requirement. You have to get this right. I do worry, like it sounds like some of your viewers and listeners are worried. I'm worried that they're not going to apply the actual resources required, that they won't do the work to actually secure the southern border in a way that can have the impact that the scale of this problem demands. And so we should never give up. We should never claim it's too late, but we can all focus on the fact that the Biden administration needs to take seriously the need to shut off this supply chain from China. The Chinese Communist Party is doing this with great intention. The cartels are making a fortune off of this, and we can stop both of those things.
You know, we uncovered Secretary Pompeo via FOIA, and we just got it out yesterday to our folks, that the DHS and FBI were trying to cover up the dangerous realities at the border when they removed a press release that they'd already put up online. So once you do that, you can try to remove it, but it's there for history, about 2 Yemeni men on the terror watch list who were captured by Border Patrol in 2021. Interestingly enough the local FBI office in San Diego approved CBP putting this up, but then a person, again, Marcia Espinoza, who was at CBP at the time and is now the principal advisor to Secretary Mayorkas, got into a back and forth. We found out through our FOIA, her name was not redacted, to basically do exactly what the 7th floor at the FBI wanted, even though it would make CBP look kind of foolish if they posted this and then had to remove it down. Kind of what they say is the horse is already out of the barn. But how important is it for the ACLJ to keep exposing, pushing up these cover-ups? And now that we've got allies on Capitol Hill, I think about Comer and Jim Jordan, that we can take this information to and say, here's the name, here's the person to call before and testify before your committee.
The ACLJ has done remarkable work on this front and all these issues along the border, the fentanyl issue, and now this issue where we know that there are dozens of folks who are on the American watch list, the American terror watch list, who've been detained in Texas and along the border. There's an enormous amount of risk that someone will just wander their way through, supported by the cartels, and we'll have terrorism back inside the United States in ways that doesn't have to be. And so whether it's this particular issue surrounding the fact that they are clearly embarrassed by this and tried to take it down, and frankly, Jordan, do what the Biden administration often does is say, nothing to see here, folks. No, there's something to see here. The ACLJ should stay on it. Your listeners, your viewers should continue to pursue this with their members of Congress as well. We got to get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely. And Secretary Pompeo, this is Logan. I just wanted to say there's been a lot of moves going on, just to change topics a little bit, and I had to get your point of view on this. Obviously, we saw a meeting happen this week between Putin and President Xi. And if there's someone who's worked with both of these people, I thought maybe you'd have some thoughts on this. So I want to know your take on this summit that's going on.
Well, it's clear two things. One, it's clear that the Biden administration has failed to do the hard work to keep the Chinese and the Russians apart. We now have the Chinese apparently sending lethal aid into Ukraine, something that the Biden administration said they would not permit to happen. So another red line drawn, another red line crossed. Second, it's also pretty clear that Vladimir Putin is in such a predicament that he is going to be the second fiddle in that band and the junior partner in the agreement. And so while that's the case, and it is indeed a shotgun marriage, they're now wedded in ways they were not wedded before. And that presents risk to every American. We need to understand that the confrontation in Ukraine has deep implications for the threat that the Chinese Communist Party poses to each of us as well.
It seems pretty clear that China is going to try to come out to be the savior in this and be the one who ends the war and walk away as an even bigger power than they are. And that just feels like almost the inevitability, Secretary Pompeo.
The deal that the Chinese Communist Party is offering is basically Putin's deal. That is unlikely to go anyplace. It is certainly their effort to look like they're the global power, the global peacemaker. They did that between the Iranians and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well. They are bad actors in every one of these, looking out only for their increasing power, their increasing hegemony. They care nothing for American interests, and we should always be aware of that.
I wanted to go right to that Iran and Saudi Arabia relationship, that unprecedented move by China, brokering what is so upsetting to me because of the work that you all did in the administration that we were backing at ACLJ to really build a strong relationship between Gulf states and the United States and Gulf states and Israel, and working together against a common enemy that we all share, including the United States, Iran. And then China moves in and is starting to broker a normalized relationship between Iran and used to be serious enemies, Iran and Saudi Arabia. So how dangerous is this for our ally Israel? And was this because the Biden administration just threw the Abraham Accords out the door?
Jordan, it's absolutely the case that the Iranians feel emboldened as a result of the fact that the United States was sitting at the table across from them, negotiating a deal with them, trying to let them out of the incredible pressure that they were feeling. And so when that happens, the Israelis are more at risk. Our friends in Israel are more at risk. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, the Kuwaitis, the Omanis, they're all more at risk too. And so, Jordan, it shouldn't surprise anyone that they are trying to hedge their bets, trying to find a way to, cut some kind of understanding with the Iranians to reduce risk to their own people when they have no confidence that the United States of America will do the right thing and support them, provide them what they need to keep themselves and their people safe. And if you're the leader today in Israel, you have to wonder if the Iranians continue to move down a path towards a nuclear weapon, will the Americans actually do the things we need to do to help them prevent that from happening? They have upended all of the stability, all the prosperity that we had begun to build across the Middle East. This is not good for the Gulf states. It's not good for Israel, and it's certainly not good for the United States of America.
Secretary Pompeo, as always, we appreciate your insight on all these issues, from fentanyl to China and Russia to Iran and Saudi Arabia. We're so grateful to have you as part of our team.